Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to each and every one of you. The Ceylon College of Physicians is delighted to have you join us today for the inauguration ceremony of the 57th anniversary annual academic sessions. The evening proceedings will be commencing shortly with the ceremonial procession. I kindly request the audience to rise to receive it as the procession enters the hall. Thank you. Please remain standing for the national anthem. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You may now please take your seats. In keeping with the tradition, we will now go on to the lighting of the oil lamp. For this, I would like to invite Dr. Upul Disanayake, President of the Ceylon College of Physicians, who will accompany Dr. Sasanka Pereira, our Chief Guest and former Professor of Sociology, South Asian University, India. Our guest of honor and President of the Royal College of Physicians of Edinburgh, Professor Andrew Elder, who will be accompanied by Professor Jawad Akram, also our guest of honor and President of the Pakistan Society of Internal Medicine. Next, I would also like to invite Professor Anjana Silva, orator of this evening, along with the Board of Trustees representative in the Council, Dr. Anula Vijayasundara. May I also invite the senior-most past president representing the past presidents of the college, Dr. Lakshman Ranasinghe, along with the president-elect Professor Prasad Katulanda. May I also invite the honorary treasurer, Dr. Dumita Govindapala, and the honorary joint secretaries, Dr. Chanaka Aberatna and Dr. Chiranti Lianagate. Thank you. The audience may please remain seated. To start today's event, I cordially invite Dr. Upul Dissanayake, President of the Ceylon College of Physicians, to accompany the dignitaries to the head table. Our dignitaries include Dr. Sasanka Pereira, our chief guest, our guests of honor, Professor Andrew Elder and Professor Jawad Akram, orator of this evening, Professor Anjana Silva, and the honorary joint secretaries, Dr. Chanak Abhiratna and Dr. Chiranti Lenage. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Upul Dissanayake will now welcome the gathering and deliver his address as the President of the Ceylon College of Physicians. Over to you, sir.
The chief guest, Professor Sasanka Pereira, the guests of honor, Professor Andrew Elder, President, Royal College of Physicians of Edinburgh, Professor Jawad Akram, President, Pakistan Society of Internal Medicine, and Dr. Mumtaz Patel, who's acting as President of the Royal College of Physicians, will be joining with us shortly. The orator today, Professor Anjana Silva, trustees, past presidents, fellows, and council members of the Ceylon College of Physicians, the dignitaries from the Ministry of Health, Dr. Palitha Mahipala, Secretary Health, additional secretaries, Director General of Health Services, the Deputy Director Generals, and directors, the resource persons from overseas and Sri Lanka, delegates from overseas and Sri Lanka, friends and colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to the 57th anniversary annual academic sessions of the Ceylon College of Physicians. Over the next 2 days, we hope that you will enjoy the vibrant academic program that we have compiled, aiming at different segments of the attendees. There are segments for the postgraduate students, the practicing physicians, and the academics who are involved in research. There are 5 plenaries, 12 symposia, 4 pre-paper sessions, a poster presentation, 4 breakfast capsules, and a breakout meeting with the industry. We hope to end the sessions with an interactive discussion on sustainable, equitable healthcare in Sri Lanka, the way forward. We have concluded 6 pre-congress sessions on critically ill in collaboration with the Ceylon College of Critical Care Medicine, management of complex patients with dengue, systematic reviews and meta-analysis, update in clinical immunology in collaboration with Sri Lankan Medical and Dental Association in the United Kingdom, medical leadership, and essentials for nursing care. They were all oversubscribed. We have a post-congress session on overseas training in UK, where we coach our trainees how to secure a job and make maximum use of their overseas training. Brain drain is still a problem for Sri Lanka, like most countries in the developing world. We wish that our postgraduate trainees, whom we consider the best the nation has invested on, would come back after gaining experience in the developed world and adapt those to the local setup. On this line, I wish if we had a congress, why we should return. Our theme this year is diversity, inclusivity, and equity. We have 2 plenaries on this theme by the presidents of the Royal Colleges, equity in the care of older people and equity in healthcare. A symposium is devoted to the same, where women in healthcare leadership, mechanisms for supporting the integration of refugee doctors, and health disparities of the urban poor will be discussed. During the year, we made the first infant steps of making us non-judgmental on the subject of sexual identity and sexual preference. We have conducted a specialty update along with the activists for the LGBTQI community with the theme, Imagine All the People. We had a healthy discussion among 250 plus people attending the event. We understand that it is difficult to change people. The prejudices you carry from childhood will not disappear overnight just because you are a healthcare worker. However, we need to change our perceptions. And ladies and gentlemen, each journey to change starts with a small step. Similarly, we have continued with the traditions of the college which are sacrosanct. We have carried on with the regional meetings, meeting with our colleagues out there, reaching out for them and exchanging knowledge, experiences, and renewing friendships. We continued with the Leadership Forum, a flagship program of the college at all these regions, and had successfully concluded the pre-congress on leadership with the participation of Royal College of Physicians. Ladies and gentlemen, communication is the key to success, and bad communication is the road to disaster. The college conducts workshops on communication. We coach the budding physicians on the communication skills, and it is well taken by recipients. Over the last 9 months, ladies and gentlemen, my council and I, along with 2 secretaries, have done our best to do justice to this institution of Ceylon College of Physicians, which celebrates 57 years this year. I could do it because, as my wife and children say, I am no longer theirs, but a public property. I thank them for donating me for greater good. There are many who have helped us during this time. The secretary will thank them during a speech. Since the joint secretaries can't thank themselves, it is my duty to thank them. I thank Dr. Chiranthi Liyanagi, the Honorary Co-Secretary, well known to you, all of you, especially the resource persons and delegates. She has called and bothered you many times. I am grateful for her too, bearing the brunt of the work and taking the blame, be it academic and social. Next is Dr. Chanak Abhiratna, the Honorary Co-Secretary, who's mysteriously silent, but looks after work and is everybody's darling. We had the coffee shop group who started all this more than 1 year ago. More about it from Chiranthi. Because of these hard-working people, I could sit back and relax and bask in all the glory. Ladies and gentlemen, let us get on with the rest of the proceedings. I wish you a great academic session where you acquire new knowledge, meet up with old friends, and forge new acquaintances. Good evening.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Upul Dissanayake will now introduce and invite our guest of honor, Professor Javed Akram, to address the gathering.
Professor Javed Akram is the founding and the current president of the Pakistan Society of Internal Medicine and an international advisor to the Royal College of Physicians, London. He has held the position of the caretaker Minister of Health, Government of Punjab, Pakistan. He was a recipient of the Global Excellence in Patient Care Award from Royal College of Physicians, London, for his research during COVID-19 pandemic. Professor Javed Akram is a renowned academic and a medical researcher with significant contributions to the field of internal medicine and healthcare in Pakistan. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Javed Akram.
My dear friend, Dr. Upul Dissanayake, accompanied by Professor Andrew Edwards, and then very own Dr. Shirinati, who kept us very busy chasing us all the time. And of course, the chief guest, Dr. Pereira, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It's indeed a great honor and pleasure for me to be what I think is a milestone, this 57th, we are in the 57th anniversary of College of Ceylon academic sessions, and that tells us that how the institutes are strengthened. If you lay down good traditions and make sure that those traditions are followed in good spirit, then obviously that institute stands out always. And being an academic institute and being in the business of healing, I think the leadership, especially Dr. Uppal and the former leaders we just met, they have done wonders to this institute. And I congratulate you all for this 57th anniversary. I was asked by my dear friend Uppal to talk about a doctor, a technical person, and not a politician becoming a minister in a developing country, in a country which is struggling for resources, and there is a population explosion, and also a country which stands at the crossroads of NCDs and communicable diseases, a country which is unfortunately known as world capital of diabetes, 33% prevalence, and every second Pakistani is hypertensive, so you can imagine the disease burden there. We do share many things with Sri Lanka, the culture and many other things, especially the struggling for resources, both countries. Sri Lanka defaulted, but coming out very nicely out of it now. And I hope with the new election, the new leadership will even make it more stable, especially once the political stability is there, then it will follow by economic stability. Pakistan is similar, very similar dynamics that we are facing, although we didn't sort of defaulted with the IMF, but we can't say that we are safe and out of the trouble. So in such circumstances, when I was made Minister for Health, caretaker minister, because I am a technical person and not a politician, so for a couple of years this challenge was given to me. So whatever I have learned, whatever I used to think should have been done, it gave me an opportunity to do it. We had about 339 major initiatives that we took in those 2 years. Some of them I'd like to discuss. One was that primary angioplasty was only done to VVIPs, and whether it's a coronary or whether it is cerebral angioplasty. And the moment I took oath, the next morning, the first order that I passed was that in all our hospitals where angiographic machines are there, must perform cardiac angioplasties and cerebral angioplasties. And that happened, and that decreased our cost of treating MIs, cardiac disease as well as cerebral disease. Not only decreased the disability, but also it was cost-effective intervention, because less people were having arrhythmias or having cardiac failures or stroke consequences. So that is why we ended up saving, and we strengthened that. And ultimately, when I stepped down as a minister, the door to needle time was less than 35 minutes in my all 380 hospitals. We then started revamping our hospitals. We enabled them digitally, and HMIS system was compulsory, and we introduced artificial intelligence into our prescriptions, so less prescription errors and more patient safety was ensured. Similarly, we also looked at the waste management system, infection control, and we tried to focus onto those. Another, I think, thing that Sri Lanka may be able to learn are hospitals, more expensive hospitals like transplant centers, we call it PKLI, Punjab Kidney and Liver Institute, and many cardiac centers, many centers of acute care. What we did, we abolished the salary to our consultants and to our staff, most of the staff, except for the lower staff or the support staff. The core staff was not paid salary, they were made to they were paid according to the performance. So if they would do a liver transplant, they would charge some, they would be given 33 million rupees. And if they were doing it free for the government because of the poor patient who was entitled to free care, then the government will pay him the same amount. So that way the attitudes changed, and also the more efficiency came into the system, and gradually we made all the systems, all the hospitals pay for performance, and consultants were very happy going far off rural areas, and also the patients were very happy. The satisfaction index tripled with this intervention. Uppal told me to look at to talk about health insurance. Health insurance, is a very interesting facts that I wanted to present, but he said, no, you just, without these slides, you can do it. The health insurance was costing us around, like 10 million rupees per hour in our province. So it was so expensive because it was universal. The rich and poor, everybody could get the treatment. So immediately I made it pro-poor, and only people who were very poor, we started with them. And then also we started that why not not only the private hospitals are paid, but also the public hospitals could benefit from the health insurance. So 65,000 beds were created, which it would have taken ages for government to build and much more expensive in the healthcare system. And because we were paying very handsome amount to the private hospitals and public hospitals, people were motivated to build new hospitals, and the private sector came up in investing more. When I started my tenure, there were 39 angiographic machines, and after 2 years, there were 200 angiographic machines. They were everybody. So that gave me access to people who were eligible for primary angioplasty or primary cerebral disease intervention. So that is how, with very little resources, we were. Our population explosion, we mind you, will be the third largest population in year 2050. Right now we are about fourth largest population. So I think what we did, we never allowed our population to be our weakness. We converted it into a strength. So that gave us a much more privilege to negotiate with the insurance companies. And can you imagine that the final figure was 4,650 rupees for a family for 1 million cover. So that is peanuts. So what we did, we said, we decided that certain emergency procedures like primary angioplasty, trauma, things like that will be totally free. But others, they'll have to resort to public sector hospitals. So the public sector hospitals earn, and then they spend on them, on those hospitals. So with that incentivization, the public sector hospital and the competition between public and private hospitals made a win-win situation for us. We were able to cater for 33 million families and 113 million patients in 1 year. So we couldn't have done all that with our existing infrastructure. So immediately the private sector came in and brought this. And also, I think one of the challenges that we all have is especially the behavior of the staff. So we made many interventions, and we found evidence-based tools were invented, undergraduate and postgraduate curricula were changed, and much more emphasis was put on empathy and, like making good human beings. Because I strongly believe, as a practicing physician in so many countries, that you cannot make good doctors till you make good human beings. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest of honor, Dr. Mumtaz Patel, acting as President, Royal College of Physicians. She is unable to join us in person at this moment. However, she will be with us shortly for the remainder of the program. In the meantime, she will now deliver her address through a pre-recorded video message.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Mumtaz Patel is acting as President of the Royal College of Physicians. She is a consultant nephrologist based in Manchester, UK. She was elected as a Senior Censor Vice President for the Education and Training for the RCP in 2023, having completed a successful 3-year term as Global Vice President. Having graduated with honours in 1996 from the University of Manchester, she obtained MRCP in 2000 and PhD in 2006, exploring the genetics of lupus nephritis. She obtained FRCP in 2011 and was awarded MSc in Medical Education in Distinction in 2014. Her educational research interests include assessment, doctors in difficulty, differential attainment, and fairness in medical education. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Mumtaz Patel.
Ceylon College of Physicians. My name is Dr. Mumtaz Patel. I am the acting president for the Royal College of Physicians here in London, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you all today. My sincere apologies I'm unable to be with you in person, as I'm currently travelling to Sri Lanka, and due to the change in the programme being brought forwards by a day, I'll be arriving in Sri Lanka just as the ceremony starts. I think my flight is due to land at 6:30. I look forward to seeing you all in person very soon, as I'll make my way to the conference centre shortly. It's my great pleasure and huge privilege to be guest of honour for the Ceylon College of Physicians annual conference. The Ceylon College of Physicians, or CCP, is a really important organisational partner for the RCP London. Colleagues at CCP and, broadly speaking, in Sri Lanka have become more like friends and family over time. I've been actively involved with the CCP since 2020, initially in my role as the Royal College of Physicians London Global Vice President, and then in my role as Senior Censor and Vice President for Education and Training, and now as acting RCP President as well. During the challenging years of COVID, I supported the CCP conferences and activities virtually over the last 3 years, and I'm delighted that I'll be able to join you all in person for this year's conference soon. It'll be lovely to meet all the colleagues and friends in person in Sri Lanka who I've got to know so well over the last few years, and you've become like a second family to me. A little bit of background around RCP London. The Royal College of Physicians London was founded by the Royal Charter back in 1518, would you believe, over 500 years old, from the time of King Henry VIII. And it's the oldest and the largest medical college in England. And we have over 40,000 fellows and members, of which 30,000 now are international fellows, spanning across 121 countries, including high, middle, and low-income countries. Our membership includes and follows the physician training pathway from medical students, trainees, consultants, SAS doctors to retired physicians. And we have 2 bases in London to those who've attended, and that is in Regent's Park in London, as well as the RCP North at the Spine in Liverpool in the northwest of England as well. And the broader RCP vision is the leading body for physicians in the UK and internationally, and it envisages a world in which everyone has the best possible health and healthcare. We have our 3 mission strands, which are around educating, improving and influencing for better health and care. So the RCP's global strategy was launched in 2021, which many colleagues here in CCP and Sri Lanka contributed to. And this is mapped to the broader RCP's strategic aim, vision, mission and principles. And the main global themes of activity includes, number 1, membership support and engagement. So it is a membership organisation, the Royal College of Physicians, and we tailor activity based on our membership teams. And we've been doing this with a number of our international advisors, and we have 3 international advisors in Sri Lanka, and we have regular meetings. And this is around promoting growth, diversity within our membership, and building networks, and most importantly, arranging activities which are targeted to the membership teams. Then secondly, the Medical Training Initiative programme supporting the international workforce is a big theme for us, work stream. And Sri Lanka is one of the top countries for MTI, supporting trainees. And we've been working closely with the PGIM, Postgraduate Internal Medicine programme and department here in Sri Lanka to promote and support our trainees. And then thirdly, education and training. We've been supporting a number of your workshops and supporting a number of the trainer workshops as well. I've done a number of the leadership workshops over the last 3 years, the trainings in difficulty workshops, and just broader train the trainer workshops as well. And of course, we support the conferences and CME activities and the federated activities, which includes our MRCP exams, including PACES. And I've had the pleasure of supporting the MD exams as well. And that was my first trip to Sri Lanka some years ago, which I really enjoyed as well. And then we do broader projects mapped to the RTP's strategic aims, vision, mission and principles, and its charitable purpose. So I'm proud to say the activities being delivered are to the benefit and healthcare improvement for patients and the personal and professional development of the physicians involved. And it's been my great pleasure to support our colleagues here at CCP and around the world with this wide range of activities. So finally, just to say a huge thank you to Professor Paul Disianka for the kind invitation, and the Secretariat and the conference team for all their hard work and support in putting the conference programme together, which looks excellent. I'm sure it'll be a great success, and I'm very much looking forward to attending, to presenting at the sessions and meeting you all. We are very proud to be on the journey with you, and will continue to support you in all your future endeavours. A huge thank you to you all for your commitment and kind support, and I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Upul Dissanayake will now introduce and invite our next distinguished guest of honor, Professor Andrew Elder, President of the Royal College of Physicians of Edinburgh, who will address the gathering.
Professor Andrew Elder is the first geriatrician to become the President of Royal College of Physicians of Edinburgh. Educated at Edinburgh Medical School, he has been an NHS consultant in medicine for older people since 1993 and an honorary professor since 2015, an expert in teaching and assessing clinical skills. He has taught in over 20 countries in the past decade. From 2013-2018, he was Medical Director of MRCP UK and chaired AO MRC Assessment Committee from 2015-2018. He has been a visiting professor at several US institutions, including Stanford and Johns Hopkins. And in 2021, he was awarded the Mastership of the American College of Physicians. He emphasizes the importance of compassion, communication, and co-clinical skills in medical education. Professor Andrew Elder.
Dr. Dissanayake, Dr. Pereira, Professor Akram, Professor Siva, distinguished guests, fellows old and new, colleagues and friends. Thanks very much for the introduction and the most gracious and really very welcome invitation to be with you here again. It's a real privilege and delight for me to be here as a guest of honour at the 57th Annual Academics Sessions of the Ceylon College of Physicians. I was thinking as I was sitting on the stage, and in fact my colleagues were talking about this before we came in, that this is an important milestone today in many colleagues' careers because it marks them attaining the fellowship. And we mark milestones with ceremonies and rituals. And this is quite a ceremony. I remember the last time I was here, when I went back to Edinburgh, I said to my colleagues, we have to do ceremonies differently for fellowship. You know, I would like to light a candle in the Great Hall of the college, and I would definitely like some drums. But health and safety prevented me from lighting the candle, and I still haven't got the drummers. But in all seriousness, it's a very important ceremony today, and I congratulate all of those of you who are becoming new fellows and wish you all the very best in your career beyond this point. As some of you know, because I've told you before, I think I've got a long, strong and fond personal association with Sri Lanka. Long and strong because my first visit to Colombo was in 1983, and I keep on coming back. And strong and fond because the reason for that visit was that it was my honeymoon. Yeah. And who doesn't remember their honeymoon? Another kind of ritual associated with marriage, isn't it? But I've been very fortunate in my career to travel many places, but I'll never forget my first visit and subsequent visits to Sri Lanka because of the people and the place. I've always been made to feel extremely welcome here, as have all my colleagues who visited with me, and I thank you most sincerely for that. As I said there, I've visited over the years many times since, and I particularly remember visits around 2015, 2016. At that point, I was medical director of the MRCP UK exams, and we were working together to successfully bring those exams, the PACES exam, to Sri Lanka. I remember that exam's a collaboration, and I'll come back to that, between the three UK colleges in Edinburgh, London and Glasgow. And in coming here for that kind of visit, and indeed to other countries that we've gone to with the exam, I always enjoy them because there's nothing like meeting other doctors and hearing about their challenges, their difficulties, and also their triumphs, because I think it's only really by sharing what we do, what you do, what we do in the UK, that we can really move patient care on. And the kind of connection that we get from meeting in this way is vital to us, and I hope it's vital to you. I'm, of course, here to represent our college, and that's the Royal College of Physicians of Edinburgh. And in doing that, I'm representing many thousands of fellows and members in over 100 other countries around the world. So if you think about it that way, the whole world is here with you tonight. The Ceylon College of Physicians and the Edinburgh College also have a long, strong and fond association with faculty visits and collaborative educational events such as this one over many, many years. I was looking just the day before yesterday in my office in Edinburgh at a gift that was given by colleagues from Sri Lanka to the Edinburgh College way back in the 1970s. And again, it made me think how long the association was, and made me hope that our relationship would flourish in the future. We are at a difficult time in medicine around the world, I would say, with increasing demand for healthcare. No country that I go to has quite enough resource to deliver all the healthcare that it wants to. No country that I go to has quite as many doctors as we feel we need. We share now a style of training doctors that I believe is the best in the world and certainly far eclipses the American system of training. But I think that rather than just looking back at what we've built in terms of medical education, we should all be looking forward and thinking, well, how do we need to shape and change the medical workforce to deliver best care in the future? Dr. Patel, Mumtaz Patel, who's just spoken, will be joining us later. And I was particularly pleased that both the London College and Edinburgh College were represented here today, because I think that many people see the three UK colleges, London, Edinburgh and Glasgow, as competitors. There is a bit of competition between us, but we actually collaborate on much, much, much more than we compete. And the products of our collaboration are really very special. For example, the world's biggest postgraduate examination in internal medicine, MRCP UK, the specialty certificate exams that go along with that, and the work of the JRC-PTB for curricula and training. As many of you know, and Dr. Patel said, she is acting as president at the moment in a very challenging time for the college in London, where I am also a fellow. And I'm sure we would all wish Dr. Patel, and indeed the entire London College, all the best for Dr. Patel in managing the responsibilities at the moment and the college for its stability and future. The last bit of what I wanted to say relates to what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. And as you know, and as you heard in my introduction, I'm not only the president of the college, but I'm the first geriatrician to be president of the college. And obviously I had to become a geriatrician. I had no choice. With a name like Elder, there was not much else I could do. But my presidency, you could say, symbolizes a bit of a coming of age for the specialty of geriatric medicine, because the medicine of older people is really the medicine of our times and should and must become more prominent, not just in the UK and the US, but here, and that's what I'll speak about tomorrow. Because all around the world, our populations are aging, and that is a triumph of public health and clinical and scientific medicine, and the product of improvements in infant and childhood mortality, followed by better treatments of the diseases of midlife. I sometimes think the way we speak about the aging of our population, that we forget that it's a triumph. Yeah? The challenge now is to deliver care of the highest quality to older people. But many medical services at the moment are actually quite ill-equipped to care for older people. The specialty that I represent, geriatric medicine, is very poorly developed in some countries, and training for nurses, allied health professionals and other healthcare workers pays scant attention to the specific needs of the old, particularly multimorbidity, polypharmacy, functional dependence, rehabilitation, the frailty syndrome, and brain health, delirium and dementia. And although preventative measures have the potential to compress morbidity into a short period at the end of life, that hasn't been realized yet in any country. Yeah, all countries, including the USA, are seeing lifespan static, okay, years of healthy life reducing slightly, and years of ill health towards the end of life increasing. So we're not compressing morbidity in the way that was hoped we might be able to. And we have a large number of older people with complex care and rehab needs to look after. I believe, therefore, it's vital that all medical professionals, and not just geriatricians, are interested and expert in the care of the old, and in your hospitals, wards and clinics, that we promote all aspects of the good care of older people. But having worked as a geriatrician for many years now, I've come to realize that the biggest barrier in improving that, in making things better for older people, may actually just be our attitudes towards the old and aging. We are, in my country, an ageist society. And unless that changes, it will prove very difficult to provide the care and support that our elders need and deserve. So I was delighted, therefore, to see the choice of the theme for this year's sessions being diversity, inclusivity, and equity. And that's why my chosen plenary topic tomorrow will be equity in the care of older people. But in closing, there is, of course, much more to diversity, inclusivity, and equity than enhancing the care of older people. And more, too, than ensuring that all of our patients are included in timely, just, and equitable access to health care. There's us as a profession, and there's other healthcare professions. There's the consistent and commanding need across all the healthcare professions to ensure that whatever your sex, whatever your ethnic background, whatever your socioeconomic status, that you have the opportunity to maximize your own potential, that there are no false barriers to your progress, that you are truly welcomed and valued and feel welcomed and valued and feel and are able to contribute to your profession, to healthcare, to medical science, and to progress. And in many workplaces, healthcare workplaces at the moment, that is not the case. Barriers to individual progress have, of course, existed for many years and still do exist, but it's for all of us to break them down. Some are very, very visible, like the glass ceilings that exist for many female colleagues, and they must be broken. But barriers can also be much, much more difficult to see and can affect groups that you don't know until you look hard. So it's only really by looking as closely as we can, reflecting on our own experiences, and listening to, thinking about, and reflecting on the experiences of others that will ever really change things. So I close by thanking everybody involved in the organisation of the meeting, by congratulating you on your choice of theme, by thanking you for your welcome and hospitality, and wishing this prestigious meeting every success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Upul Dissanayake will now introduce and invite our chief guest, Dr. Sasanka Pereira, to address the gathering. Over to you, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Sasanka Pereira taught sociology at South Asian University, New Delhi from 2011 to 2024. He was its founding professor of sociology and the founding dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences from 2011 to 2018, and again from 2021 to 2022, and the university's vice president from 2016 to 2019. Before this, he was a professor of sociology at University of Colombo and the chairman of the Department of Sociology before he left Colombo in 2011. His publications in English include Fear of the Visual, Photography, Anthropology, and the Anxieties of Seeing, 2020. Was on Tourism in Sri Lanka, Tales from Darker Places in Paradise, 2016, and Violence and the Burden of Memory, Remembrance and Erasure in Sinhala Consciences, 2015. He has co-written Against the Nation, Thinking Like South Asians, 2019. He has co-edited Culture and Politics in South Asia, Performative Communication 2018, Sociology and Social Anthropology in South Asia, Histories and Practices 2018, Intersections of Contemporary Art, Anthropology and Art History in South Asia, Decoding Visual Worlds in 2019, and Humor and Performance of Power in South Asia, Anxiety, Laughter and Politics in Unstable Times 2022. In addition, he has also translated Sinhala Justin Gardner's novel Vita Brevis, A Letter to St. Augustine 2019, Hinoshi Inu's play Face of Jesus in 2016, and has translated a collection of 150 poems by the 13th century Persian poet Jalaluddin Muhammad Rumi to Sinhala as Tutin Piriyak Mohatak, Jalaluddin Rumi's Rumige Toragat Kavi in 2022, which won the Sri Lanka State Award for the Best Translation in Poetry in 2023. His translation of Lucas Snath's play, The Doll's House, Part 2, won the Sri Lanka State Award for the Best Translation of a Play in 2024. He writes poetry and engages in photography in spare time. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Sasanka Pereira, the chief guest.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I must confess, I usually avoid these kinds of events because I'm generally lost. But it was difficult to say no between Upul and Panduka Karunanayaka. Anyhow, I hope I can deliver what I've been asked to do. I have given myself the topic very unmedical, obviously. And the topic is, where have our ethics gone? Now, you might wonder why a scholar would opt to ask a question as seemingly banal and commonsensical as where have the ethics gone? Where have our ethics gone? When you, as the Ceylon College of Physicians and others are here to deliberate on your own intellectual research and policy quests focused on the theme diversity, inclusivity, and equity. When I was asked to speak at this event, I was at the same time impacted by a very serious personal crisis. It was obvious to me that it would be impossible to deal with my crisis without considering the implication of ethics and its absence in the broader sense. After all, my former university was censuring me for standing up for something I considered was a fundamental body of ethics: freedom of thought and expression on the one hand, and academic freedom on the other. The compromise of these ethics took place in a situation my former superiors and colleagues thought they should be seen as the guardians of what they thought were the interests of the state. In this instance, the state was India. Hence, setting out from how ethics were both impacted and compromised in this situation, and reflecting further, it became abundantly clear that without serious consideration of ethics, you as a group of professionals would also not be able to work in your profession, and all of us would also not be able to collectively imagine our future as a civilization. The world we are used to and our taken for granted comfort zones in it would be in crisis if we moved too far away from our commitment to what we used to call ethics. And to reiterate, I was reflecting upon this in both personal and public contexts in recent times, where ethics, as I thought I understood them, had become very distant from the work and life experiences. It is in explaining this general situation that John Berger has noted, without ethics, man has no future. This is to say, mankind without ethics cannot be itself. Ethics determine choices and actions and suggest difficult priorities. I have referred to ethics as what we used to call ethics. This is a very conscious choice of words on my part. And this is because ethics in the way we used to understand them in the not so distant past that are still remembered by my generation and practiced by my parents until they passed on, is not how ethics are understood or practiced today. Often, it seems to me, ethics is looked down upon as a reflection of foolishness and naivety, and therefore very casually violated too, often without consequences. And I'm not talking about our country alone, but also our region and the world. To put it more bluntly, ethics are often seen as a liability and therefore something that can be done away with. This, in a sense, is my point of departure for what I have to say today. Given this situation of liminality, what would ethics constitute in its most basic form? Within a commonsensical understanding, I suggest ethics incorporated at least two interrelated elements. First, ethics would mean an adherence to well-established standards of what is right and wrong. At this fundamental level, ethics would outline what people as human beings would do and what they should refrain from. At this level, ethics are generally understood in terms of rights, obligations, benefits to society, and notions of fairness. Ethics, for example, refer to those standards that impose reasonable obligations to refrain from actions that are clearly wrong, which includes, but are not limited to, things like rape, stealing, murder, assault, slander, and fraud. But looking at Sri Lanka's parliament alone and the extended landscape of our local politics, individuals who commit all or many of these crimes are voted into positions of power by the people themselves. The situation is more or less very similar in South Asia. Against this backdrop, it almost seems as if these ethically wrong acts have now become virtues. So, where indeed have our ethics gone? Second, ethics incorporate the study and development of one's ethical standards. We know that personal feelings, laws, and social norms can deviate from what is ethical. Given this possibility, it is necessary to constantly examine one's standards to ensure that they are reasonable and well-founded. Ethics in this sense then refer to continuous efforts of studying our own moral beliefs and our moral conduct and striving to ensure that we and the institutions we help to shape live up to the standards that are reasonable and solidly based. In effect, ethics have a component of reflection through formal choices, through formal close examinations in societies where ethics are taken seriously. But in our context, either in schools, universities, or other spaces of citizenship training, do we engage in this kind of reflection at all? So, where have our ethics gone? This is a question I constantly ask myself and continue to ask today when my own personal crisis began to unfold in my former university. The deafening silence of my colleagues in the midst of an unreasonable and targeted attack on me for merely standing up to a PhD student's right to free expression and academic freedom meant that South Asian University, for which, incidentally, your tax rupees must have also been channeled as a SARC initiative, will never again stand for academic freedom. As I noted in public at the time, the fallout of this silence and the institutionalized and choreographed timidity is that no critical and self-reflective research will ever be undertaken at South Asian University. Again, this one small example of the long-term consequence of a single institution when ethics are deliberately placed on the back burner in the interest of mere personal convenience and gain. So this is one simple example. I want to flag 3 misconceptions we often have about what constitutes ethics. 1, people often equate ethics with religion. The main religious traditions in our country certainly stress high ethical standards in the conduct of their adherents. But this generalization makes sense if we only focus on the doctrinal and textual positions of these religions. However, even this cannot be sustained if we considered examples from the public and private utterances and lives of many people who came to be religious, and particularly religious leaders. The reduction of ethics into religion is also very dangerous because then it could also mean that only the religious people would carry the burden of ethics. But we know ethics should matter in the conduct of life, both of the pious and non-believers. For sure, religion can set high ethical standards and can provide intense motivations for ethical behavior. But we know from our own experiences in this country and by looking at our immediate regional neighborhood, the first casualty in the practice of local and national politics are usually ethics. And this compromise is often made in the name of religion. So, reducing ethics to religion, and that too without proper reflection, is always a grave mistake. 2, people also often believe being ethical means following the law. Without a doubt, the law is expected to incorporate ethical standards drawn from bodies of legal codes, history, and civilizational memory. But laws are not always the same as ethics. Let me explain. Championed by unprincipled autocrats and adopted in dubious political climates, laws could very drastically deviate from what are ideal ethical standards for a society. The recent attempts in Sri Lanka to stifle freedom of expression under the provisions of the ICCPR Act, which is based on the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and the much longer term experience of using the Prevention of Terrorism Act for similar purposes are classic examples. The manner in which blasphemy laws in Pakistan have been drafted and applied historically is another example. Similarly, national security laws, anti-terrorism laws, and elements of the Public Safety Act have been used in India to repress dissent and to suspend fundamental rights, particularly of minorities in very specific situations. So, in these situations, when laws themselves are proven to be unethical in their application, the ethical position would be the commitment to change these laws and not to become subsumed by their erroneous logic. 3, many of us also believe that being ethical means adhering to what society considers generally acceptable. It is generally correct that most of us would accept societal standards and norms that are ethical. Our respect towards elders is one such position. But standards of behavior in any society can deviate from what is ideally ethical, not only to what is simply unethical, but also things that are clearly tyrannical. It is not an exaggeration to say that an entire society can become ethically corrupt under specific historical conditions. To use a personal example, whatever the society's ideals are, caste, religious, and ethnic discrimination is strictly not possible for me. I have never engaged in such discrimination, and I never will. It is about adhering to an ethical principle irrespective of society's dominant trends. The way in which draconian social and political orders have been planned, implemented, and broadly accepted by some societies is a classic example of an entire society becoming ethically compromised. Nazi Germany and South Africa under apartheid are two recent examples. So, what does all this mean? What concerns me as a person, as a citizen, as an inhabitant of the planet, and I think the least important in this context as a scholar, is that ethics as an idea and as a set of good practices, as understood the way I described, have lapsed from the common sense in our country, in our extended geopolitical neighborhood, and in varying degrees in the world we live in. For those of my generation, the value of ethics came from our parents, which they had learned as part of their colonial education and as part of their citizenship training to be good colonial subjects. Now, whatever other failures that education system might have had due to the very imprint of coloniality and its necessary brutality, it did give a very strong sense of ethics within the colonial framework. But even after independence, aspects of that education and the ethics that came with it held sway as a central preoccupation of many people in my parents' generation. For people like my father, who was a government surveyor, my mother, who was a school teacher, and my father-in-law, who was a civil servant, just to take three personal examples, doing anything wrong and therefore unethical was simply unthinkable. But their principal positions at times did have very negative personal consequences. While there were examples to the contrary, even at that time, there was a very strong sense of what they call the right thing. This was their reference to ethics. But today, that quotidian emphasis is not something that is easily seen. Our present-day education system does not seem to place too much conscious emphasis on ethics. I am also not sure if this is even done within the family as it used to be. It seems to me, in this time and age, being ethical is understood as depriving oneself of economic, social, and political opportunities. This rupture of ethics, its distancing from day-to-day life, is most clearly manifest in our politics at all levels. It is not that an old set of ethics has been deliberately replaced by a new one. It is more like ethics have been overdetermined by what I would call non-ethics. That is, a discourse on power, money, avarice, and influence has made adherence to ethics and reflection on ethics immaterial, relegating them to a position of insignificance and relative erasure. It may be this kind of situation that the 20th century Indian thinker B.R. Ambedkar had in mind when he noted, and I quote, "History shows that where ethics and economics come into conflict, victory is always with economics because, as he observed further, vested interests have never been known to have willingly divested themselves unless there was sufficient force to compel them." Ambedkar, of course, was talking with the benefit of life experiences of his time. You may think that I am being unreasonably dreamy and too idealistic, and that our world still knows about ethics, and that I simply do not see it. I have actually been told this before. But to me, the problem is not that we do not know about ethics today, but that we do not allow ethics to blossom as an integral part of our lives and rules and work and our conscience. The problem with ethics anywhere historically is that they tend to be so fragile and are usually among the first casualties in any condition of catastrophe or challenge. Today, the landscape of ethics and its absence has become more complicated. So far, I have only talked about ethics with reference to what many of us can relate to, things we have seen. But what does the future hold for us? What kind of challenges would, for example, artificial intelligence pose in terms of ethics in domains such as education in dealing with something as fundamental as the truth? Last year, in my class on research methods, I asked my students to come up with an actionable research proposal for funding as part of a training program. By the time I ended my 2-hour session, one of the students, under my suggestion, gave me a 6-page proposal written by ChatGPT. I also asked them to give me a non-machine generated proposal in 1 week. Ultimately, in comparison, in the class, there was far more sense and context in what my human class did than what ChatGPT did. But will that separation and that concern for ethics over ownership and authorship in this emerging brave new world always hold sway? In my monologue today, I have not tried to provide you with ideal answers. To provide answers to such complex questions is not the role of a sociologist. That is the job of self-proclaimed religious gurus with divine connections, know-it-all politicians, many of us know all about, to whose advice we may or may not listen, and certainly street corner magicians. My job as a sociologist and someone who thinks, like most people like myself, was simply to situate problems in context and explore what is possible and what is at stake. That, I think, I have done. As you begin your deliberations within the theme diversity, inclusivity, and equity, you may also want to consider why you came up with this theme in the first place in this time and age when these 3 principles should already be well ingrained in the way we think and work. But if you were concerned enough to bring this up as a theme, perhaps we share the same anxieties about ethics in our society and work environments and what our collective futures may look like. The final question you may wish to ask yourselves is, where would our youth learn and be inspired by ethics that can rebuild a decent world for them? It certainly cannot come from the life lessons imparted by political leaders and publicly vocal religious leaders of our time. There is a vast difference between what is preached by them and what is actually done. For me, this dichotomy is a cartography of the collective failures in our time. This is what Bertrand Russell meant when he noted, we have in fact 2 kinds of morality, side by side. One which we preach but do not practice, and the other which we practice but seldom preach. My request and suggestion is that we can no longer bank on politics or religion to reinvent our disappearing sense of ethics for the future. We also cannot hope for divine intervention or anticipate that someone else in the form of a local superman or superwoman, or in Sri Lanka's case, a super reptile emerging from a river, will solve all of our problems. It can only come from individuals like us, whose only vested interest should be our own stake in an ethically sound collective future, and to bring that urgency to our families, workspaces, and wider public sphere. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to inform you that Dr. Mumtaz Patel has joined us now, and we welcome her to this gathering. Up next in the agenda, ladies and gentlemen, is a milestone. Sri Lanka carries the distinction of having the lowest case fatality for dengue in South and Southeast Asia. This is thanks to the dedication of the clinicians who manage dengue and the guidelines we have been following from 2010. Yet, our key fatality rate remains at 0.05%. To bring this case fatality rate further down, the Ceylon College of Physicians is launching the revised guidelines on the management of dengue and the dengue hemorrhagic fever with the endorsement of the Epidemiology Unit of the Ministry of Health Sri Lanka and the National Dengue Control Unit. We thank everybody who was involved in the presentation and the preparation of this guideline. It is now time to watch the video on the official launch of the revised national guidelines on the management of dengue.
The fight against dengue is an ongoing battle spanning decades. From the first serologically confirmed case in 1962 and the declaration of its endemic status in 1989, the incidence of dengue has continued to rise substantially. The magnitude of dengue fever and dengue hemorrhagic fever epidemics in Sri Lanka has been rising since the early 2000s, turning it into a major public health problem in the country. The need for a more strategic approach was evident. In response, the first national guideline on management of dengue fever and dengue hemorrhagic fever was developed in 2010 by the Ministry of Health in collaboration with several professional colleges. The guideline instilled confidence in the healthcare system's ability to manage dengue effectively, marking a significant milestone in our fight against the disease. Ceylon College of Physicians, a staunch advocate for developing the medical profession and improving healthcare in Sri Lanka, played a pivotal role in this joint venture. The college's commitment ensured that the new knowledge on dengue management reached every corner of the country through numerous CMU programs supported by the Ministry of Health. But outbreaks continue. On a mission to achieve zero deaths, to equip healthcare workers with a robust, evidence-based framework to manage complexities of dengue fever. Introducing National Guidelines on Dengue Fever and Dengue Hemorrhagic Fever in Adults, revised and expanded edition, September 2024. A collaborative effort of the Ministry of Health and Ceylon College of Physicians. Ceylon College of Physicians. Cure, relief, comfort.
To mark this important occasion, we invite Dr. Upul Disanayake, President of the Ceylon College of Physicians, accompanied by Dr. Anand Vijayavikrama, Chairperson of the Dengue Guideline Committee, and Dr. Tumita Govindapala, Convener of the Dengue Guideline Committee, to present the revised guideline to Secretary Health Dr. Palitha Mahipala and the Director General of Health Dr. Asela Gunawardana. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the presentation of awards in recognition to outstanding achievements. Dr. Chanaka Aberatna, Honorary Joint Secretary of the Ceylon College of Physicians, will announce the award recipients, while Dr. Upul Disanayake, President of the Ceylon College of Physicians, will present the awards. Over to you both.
It's time to celebrate this incredible day we have had by recognizing the outstanding achievement of our fellow doctors for their commitment to service, leadership, and research. The selection of award recipients in each year is a difficult task. However, there are few peers among us who need special recognition for their unmatched work. To present the awards, it's my honor and privilege to call upon Dr. Upul Bandar Disanayake, President, Ceylon College of Physicians. We will begin with the Dr. Soma Da Silva Award. This esteemed Dr. Soma Da Silva Award recognizes annually the candidate who excelled at the MD Medicine Selection Examination. We have two recipients for the year of 2023 and 2024 MD Selection Examination. We are happy to announce that the Dr. Soma Da Silva Award for November 2023 MD Selection Examination is presented to Dr. Navakumaran Matangi. And the same award for April-May 2024 MD Selection Examination goes to Dr. Pramod Chanuka Yasavardhana. Next, the prestigious Dr. Nanda Amarasekar Award. Dr. Nanda Amarasekar Award also recognizes best performance at the MD Medicine Examination. We have two recipients of this award for the last year. Dr. Arunagirinathan Maherathi secured the award for September-October 2023 MD Examination. On behalf of Dr. Maherathi, her husband will collect the award this time. And Dr. H.K. Chaturi Arunodi is awarded Dr. Nanda Amarasekar Award for June-July 2024 MD Examination. Next, we have Dr. E.M. Vijayaram Award. The award celebrates the young physician who exhibited the outstanding presentation skills at the Young Physician Forum 2023 and 2024. This year, the E.M. Vijayaram Award is presented to Dr. Maithili Aravindan, Senior Registrar in Internal Medicine at National Hospital of Sri Lanka, Colombo. Three other young physicians who excelled at the Young Physician Forum 2023-2024 obtained the merit recognition. I would like to call upon following Senior Registrar for Merit Awards: Dr. B.P. Gaminda, Senior Registrar in Internal Medicine, Teaching Hospital, Jaffna; Dr. Aharani Kirubahara, Senior Registrar in Internal Medicine, National Hospital of Sri Lanka. Dr. Senur Sohain Welgama, Senior Registrar in Internal Medicine, National Hospital of Sri Lanka. Next award goes to the Most Innovative Outstation Physician 2024. This award is presented in the recognition of a physician who has conducted remarkable service to the underserved population in rural community. This year, the Most Innovative Outstation Physician Award goes to Dr. KWMP Kumari Hami. Dr. Kumari Hami has been honored with this esteemed award for her remarkable service to advance and uplift the health and well-being of underserved and less privileged population in rural area Kahavatta, submitted under the title of Striving for Equality in Health by Innovative Healthcare Access during the time of the strained economy. Lastly, the award for the best publication in the year of 2023, recognized as one of the most esteemed accolades in the medical community. The selection for this award involves the rigorous review of the candidates, impact of the research, innovation, contribution to the healthcare. Dr. MMPT Jayasekar has been chosen from a pool of multiple publications done by other distinguished physicians for the paper titled A Prospective Cohort Study on Post-COVID Syndrome from a Tertiary Care Center, Sri Lanka, published in Nature Scientific Report on 20th of September 2023. I would like to call upon Dr. Jayasekar to receive this prestigious award. That comes to the end of the award presentation. Would like to congratulate all the award winners collectively. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now move on to the award of fellowships. For this, Professor Dinithy Fernando, Professor in Physiology and a Distinguished Fellow of Ceylon College of Physicians, will read the citations. Over to you, ma'am.
Dr. Abdul Ghafoor Mohammad Farid, MBBS, MD, FRCP, is a consultant in general and acute medicine with extensive clinical experience in Sri Lanka, the UK, and Saudi Arabia. He holds an MBBS from the University of Kelaniya and an MD from the University of Colombo. His career spans from intern house officer to consultant, with a focus on general and acute medicine. He is a fellow of the Royal College of Physicians and holds a specialist registration from the GMC UK. Dr. Farid has contributed to several clinical committees, presented at numerous conferences, and published in leading medical journals. Currently, he serves as a consultant at King Abdul Aziz Hospital, Saudi Arabia, and is the chairperson for quality improvement projects. President, members of the council, ladies and gentlemen, may I now present Dr. Farid for the fellowship of the Ceylon College of Physicians. Dr. Champika Lasantha Ganevatta, MBBS, MD, FRCP, FRCP EDIN, FSCP USA, FCCP Diploma in Geriatric Medicine, MRCP SCE Geriatrics UK, MRCP Endocrinology and Diabetes, Graduated from the Faculty of Medicine, Ruhuna, with second-class honors in 2004, with 4 distinctions and gold medal for all overall highest performances in all exams, among other awards. Having obtained MD Medicine and Comprehensive Geriatric Medicine training in Queen's Hospital, Romford, London, she was board certified as a specialist physician in 2012. She is a consultant physician at New DGH Mathura, the incumbent president of the Ruhunu Clinical Society and the Sri Lanka Association of Geriatric Medicine. She examines in MD and Diploma in Geriatric Medicine and MRCP PACES. She has published in peer-reviewed journals. She currently serves and has served in the CCP Council for 5 years. President, members of the Council, ladies and gentlemen, may I now present Dr. Gane Vatta for the Fellowship of the Ceylon College of Physicians. Dr. Shiromali Malalasekara, MBBS, MD, FRA CP, is an experienced medical professional who began her journey at the University of Kelaniya, Sri Lanka, graduating as a doctor in 2003. After her internship and 1 year of resident medical officer period, she started her physician training in the Postgraduate Institute of Medicine at University of Colombo and obtained membership of the CCP, completing her MD in 2010. Dr. Shiromali has served as a consultant physician since 2013, first in Sri Lanka and later after moving to Australia in 2017. Her dedication to medical excellence was further recognized when she completed her fellowship with the Royal Australasian College of Physicians in 2018. Currently, she is a consultant physician and director of physician training at Queensland Health. President, members of the Council, ladies and gentlemen, may I now present Dr. Malalasekara for the Fellowship of the Ceylon College of Physicians. Dr. Kodipili Patabandige Ruwan Chandana Parakramawansha, MBBS, MD, MRCP UK, CCT UK, PG Dip Med Tox Cardiff, PG Certificate in Health Economics York, MRCPE, is an academic clinician with over 20 years of clinical, teaching and research experience in Sri Lanka and the UK. His special interests are stroke medicine and clinical pharmacology. He earned his MBBS in 2002 and MD in 2009. After 5 years of additional postgraduate training in the UK, he obtained CCT in General Medicine, Clinical Pharmacology, Therapeutics and Stroke Medicine in 2018. He has worked at medical faculties in Galle and Peradeniya, co-authored a book, published several peer-reviewed articles, and is a co-investigator in multiple stroke medicine trials including Restart, Optimus, Focus, Enrich AF and TICH3. President, members of the Council, ladies and gentlemen, may I now present Dr. Parakramawansha for the Fellowship of the Ceylon College of Physicians. Dr. Premil Nadikant Rajakrishna, MBBS MD, is a leading consultant nephrologist with a decade of experience at Vaunia, TH Anuradhapura and Kurunegala hospitals. Trained at Teaching Hospital Kandy and the Royal Infirmary of Edinburgh, he specializes in CKD, renal transplant and CAPD. With over 25 publications and contributions to the Oxford Textbook of Nephrology, his team won the Royal College of Physicians Excellence in Patient Care Award in 2020. He is the editor of the Kurunegala Medical Journal, a reviewer for the Sri Lanka Journal of Medicine, and an examiner for MPhil and PhD thesis at the University of Peradeniya. He pioneered a CAPD program in CKDU areas, developed a mobile patient tracking system, and contributed to Sri Lanka's first simultaneous kidney pancreas transplant. Currently, he is involved in developing a cadaveric kidney transplant program. President, members of the Council, Ladies and gentlemen, may I now present Dr. Rajakrishna for the Fellowship of the Ceylon College of Physicians. Professor Yantimala Harshini Rajapaksha, MBBS USJ, MD Psych Colombo, PhD Durham, FRCP London, FLC Psych, Visharad in Northern Indian Classical Music and Kathak, is a distinguished academic and clinician. Educated at Devi Balika Vidyalaya and the University of Sri Jawadanapura, she earned her MD Psychiatry from the University of Colombo and a PhD from Durham University, UK. She trained in licensed psychiatry in the UA and established services at National Hospital Gaul, including transgender and rehabilitation programs. Her research focuses on medically unexplained symptoms and music medicine. With 25 publications, numerous research awards, and over 100 invited lectures, she has served on councils of the College of Psychiatrists and Ceylon College of Physicians. She is also a talented musician and founded the Southern Symphonia, a musical ensemble which performs at medical gatherings and at healing programs. President, members of the Council, ladies and gentlemen, may I now present Dr. Rajapaksa for the Fellowship of the Ceylon College of Physicians. Dr. Yatiwala Vitaramalage Nalinda Darshana Sirisena, MBBS, MD Colombo, had his primary education at St. Anne's College and higher education at Maliyadeva College, Kurunegala, and later graduated from Kelaniya Medical Faculty in 1998. He obtained MD in Medicine in 2006 and later specialized in General Neurology in 2009 after completing a fellowship in Parkinson and movement disorders at Monash University, Melbourne, Australia. He has served as a consultant neurologist in teaching hospitals Badulla, Anuradhapura, Kurunegala, and North Colombo Teaching Hospital Ragama during the last 14 years and currently working at the National Hospital of Sri Lanka, Colombo. He was a past president of the Association of Sri Lankan Neurologists in 2022 to 23 and founder secretary of the Movement Disorders Society of Sri Lanka. President, members of the Council, ladies and gentlemen, may I now present Dr. Sirisena for the Fellowship of the Ceylon College of Physicians. Finally, Dr. Disanayaka Apuhamilage Chulananda Disanayaka will be conferred the Fellowship of the Ceylon College of Physicians in absentia. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Upul Disanayaka, President of the Ceylon College of Physicians, will now introduce Professor Anjana Silva, the orator of the Ceylon College of Physicians Oration 2024, and award the medal.
Professor Anjana Silva graduated from the University of Peradeniya, Sri Lanka, with an MBBS in 2007 and MPhil in 2013. He obtained his PhD in toxinology at Monash University, Australia in 2017, winning the Vice Chancellor's Award for the most outstanding thesis. He was elected a Fellow of the Royal College of Physicians, Edinburgh in 2020 and a Fellow of the National Academy of Science of Sri Lanka in 2024. Professor Silva is currently the Chair Professor and the Head of Department of Parasitology, Faculty of Medicine and Allied Sciences, Rajarata University. He is an adjunct senior research fellow at the Monash University and a research associate of the South Asian Clinical Toxicology Research Collaboration. Professor Silva started his research career in the field of biodiversity, discovering several reptile and fish species that are new to science. However, his main research focus over the last 15 years has been snakebite. He combines experimental and clinical research to investigate the pathophysiology of snake envenoming and efficacy and effectiveness of antivenom. One of the key areas in his research is identify issues with the diagnostic of envenoming and practical problems that prevent early antivenom therapy. Further, he is involved in community-based studies on the development of preventive strategies for snakebite. He initiated the Anuradhapura snakebite cohort in 2012, a snakebite cohort based in rural Sri Lanka, which is the largest snakebite cohort in the world, recruiting over 6,600 snakebite patients. This cohort facilitates several completed and ongoing PhD and MPhil projects, leading to over 30 publications. He has published 79 peer-reviewed journal articles, over 1,700 citations, and has an H-index of 24. He is an editorial board member of the Journal of Clinical Toxicology. Professor Silva has won multiple international and local awards for snakebite research. These include Young Investigator Award by the European Association of Clinical Toxicologists in 2015, the Best Research Award by the North American College of Clinical Toxicologists in 2015, the Asia Pacific Association of Medical Toxicology in 2015 and 2018. He won the CVCD Excellence Award in 2020 for the most outstanding young researcher in the field of medical sciences in Sri Lankan university system, and also won the TWAS/NSF Young Scientist Award in 2013. Professor Silva has received 7 presidential awards for research publications. He is a recipient of the Health Research Prize, a lifetime award by the Candy Society of Medicine. Professor Silva has previously delivered 3 orations, including Dr. Ramachandran Memorial Oration of the SLMA in 2018. Professor Silva is passionate about research capacity building among medical professionals and works with several professional colleges on research training. He is a serious coffee and cocktail enthusiast. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Anjana Silva, the Ceylon College of Physicians Oration 2024.
Dr. Puldisanayaka, the President of CCP, thank you very much for the very kind introduction. Chief guest, Professor Sasanka Pereira, guests of honor, Professor Andrew Elder, Professor Mumtaz Patel, and Professor Javed Akram. President and the Council of CCP, distinguished guests, and my colleagues, a very good evening to all of you. Now, I thank Ceylon College of Physicians for selecting me to deliver this prestigious oration, and it's absolutely an honor for me. For the next 30 minutes or so, I'll share my experience in meaningfully combining laboratory research and clinical studies to understand the efficacy, effectiveness, and the limitations of Indian polyvalent antivenom in treating snakebite patients in Sri Lanka. So first, I declare that I have no conflicts of interest. The presentation includes some photographs of the patients, which are of course taken with the permission of the patients. Now, snake bite is a major public health issue in the tropics. Accurate global data on snake bites are not available, but estimates based on reports suggest that there are about 5 million snake bites, about 2 million snake envenomings, and over 130,000 deaths due to snake bites worldwide each year. The most affected regions are South Asia, Southeast Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Latin America. And Asia bears nearly 75% of the global snakebite burden. Now, the countries most affected by snakebite have low human development index, low per capita expenditure on health, low GDP per capita, and high percentage of labor force in agriculture. As a result, snakebite is primarily a disease of poverty. Now, consequently, it receives less interest from researchers, policymakers, and pharmaceutical industry. Now, this lack of attention has led to an inadequate understanding of the pathophysiology, epidemiology, clinical effects, and treatment of snake bites. Therefore, snake bite is truly a disease that disproportionately affects underprivileged communities. President and the Council, I hope that speaking on snake bite well suits the theme of this year's CCP annual academic session, diversity, inclusivity, and equity. Snake bite is a major public health issue in Sri Lanka as well. Sri Lanka records one of the highest snake bite incidence rates in the world. In North Central Province, where I am based in, the incidence rate of snake bite is approximately twofold, and incidence rate of envenomings is about threefold the national figures. Due to the action of different toxins in the snake venoms, snake envenoming manifests in varying combinations of clinical features. Local effects at the bite site lead to tissue necrosis, venom-induced consumption coagulopathy, neuromuscular paralysis, and thrombotic microangiopathy, including acute kidney injury, are the most common and most important acute clinical effects of snake envenoming. Now, in addition, rhabdomyolysis and cardiovascular collapse are also important effects of snake envenoming. Now, venom-induced consumptive coagulopathy is the most common systemic effect of snake envenoming worldwide. Now, procoagulant toxins in snake venoms directly activate the clotting cascade at different steps, ultimately activating the entire cascade. This consumes clotting factors, especially resulting in hyperfibrinogenemia or afibrinogenemia. For example, Russell's viper has potent toxins that activate clotting factor 5 and 10, rapidly activating the entire cascade. Now, together with the coagulopathy, vascular damage caused by vascular toxins or hemorrhagic toxins lead to spontaneous bleeding, at times becoming fatal. Neuromuscular paralysis is a common clinical effect of envenoming by elapid and some viperate snakes. Now, irrespective of the snake species involved, the paralysis characteristically follows a descending order of muscle involvement, resulting in bulbar, neck, and respiratory muscle weakness, requiring mechanical ventilation. The primary target site of snake neurotoxins is neuromuscular junction, and snake venom neurotoxins primarily act either pre or post-synaptically at the neuromuscular junction. Presynaptic neurotoxins enter into the motor nerve terminals and lead to a depletion of synaptic vesicles, and subsequently the motor nerve terminals get structurally damaged by 6 to 12 hours, causing a denervation. This denervation is unlikely to be reversed by any therapeutic intervention and it heals on its own over the next 3 to 5 days. Many snakes, such as kraits, have potent presynaptic neurotoxins in their venoms. Postsynaptic toxins or alpha neurotoxins bind with the nicotinic acetylcholine receptors in the motor end plate and antagonize the receptor, causing a neuromuscular block. Their action is similar to non-depolarizing blocking agents such as atracurium, and cobra species in particular have venoms rich in postsynaptic neurotoxins. In addition to the acute effects, disability due to severe local effects and delayed psychological, renal, and endocrine effects further lower the quality of life of snakebite survivors. However, only very few authenticated reports on the long-term effects of snakebite are available. This is because once snakebite patients survive the acute effects and are discharged from the hospital, they are rarely being followed up. The only specific treatment for snakebite is antivenom, which was first developed 130 years ago by Albert Calmette, the very person who was involved in developing the BCG vaccine. The idea behind antivenom is simple. Antivenoms are polyclonal antibodies or fragments raised in animals such as horse, sheep, and goats. The production procedures have improved over the years. However, there are still major concerns over the quality and the safety of antivenoms received by many developing countries, including Sri Lanka. Now, Sri Lanka does not manufacture antivenoms. So the antivenom used in Sri Lanka is Indian polyvalent antivenom, which covers 4 of the 5 medically most important snakes in Sri Lanka: Russell's viper, saw-scale viper, Indian crate, and common cobra. It does not cover hump-nose vipers. Now, this antivenom is a Fab2 horse-derived antivenom. However, the safety of Indian polyvalent antivenom is significant concern due to extremely high rates of acute adverse reactions. Over the last 4 decades, there have been increasing concerns over the effectiveness of Indian polyvalent antivenom for snake envenoming in Sri Lanka. Many previous studies have shown the failure of Indian antivenom to reverse the clinical effects caused by Russell's viper and Indian crate in Sri Lanka. This failure has been attributed to the geographical differences in the venom of these snakes in India and Sri Lanka. Now, people often get confused with the terms efficacy and effectiveness. Antivenom efficacy is the ability of antivenom molecules to bind with the venom toxin antigens under optimal conditions. Ideally, efficacious antivenoms contain antibodies for all types of toxins in homologous snake venoms in high concentrations. Poor efficacy of an antivenom might be either due to antivenom simply not having antibodies against certain types of toxins or not having them in adequate concentrations. The effectiveness is the ability of antivenom to cause clinically measurable improvement in the patients. Poor efficacy of antivenom can lead to poor effectiveness. However, poor effectiveness may be observed even in antivenoms with good efficacy because of the irreversible nature of the pathophysiology of envenom. So, how do we measure the efficacy of an antivenom against snake venom? The standard test recommended by the WHO is rodent lethality prevention test, or ED50. In simple terms, this test measures the lowest antivenom dose that can save 50% of the rats or mice that receive 5 times a lethal dose of snake venom. Now, this is the standard test used worldwide by antivenom manufacturers to test the efficacy of their products before sending them to the market. And this is the test that is used to ensure the efficacy of Indian polyvalent antivenom that you use in your wards. So this oration is about our work during the last 15 years, which helped us understand the efficacy, effectiveness, and limitations of Indian antivenom in Sri Lanka by meaningfully combining laboratory and clinical research. President, Council, and distinguished guests, my interest in reptiles developed during my school days. Soon after my A-levels, I met Mr. Dharmasri Kandambi of the National Maritime Museum, Galle, who inspired me to develop myself as a naturalist. Mr. Rohan Pethiyogoda, Managing Trustee of the Wildlife Heritage Trust, raised me to the next level as a taxonomist who scientifically investigates nature. So I continued biodiversity research while studying medicine and during my pre-intern period as a full-time researcher. Our studies resulted in discovering 11 species of fish, snakes, and lizards from Sri Lanka new to science. This included resolving the taxonomy of hump-nose vipers, which remained a problem for over a century. Most importantly, I had a great opportunity to study these animals' evolutionary biology and zoogeography, which later helped me to see the snakes and snake bites beyond a human health problem. After my internship, I joined the newly established Rajarata Medical Faculty as a probationary lecturer. Anuradhapura, some call the snake bite capital of the world, records the highest snake bite and envenoming burden in the country. Shifting myself to Anuradhapura provided an ideal opportunity for me to understand the snake bite problem to very core, especially how human behaviors, snake behaviors, environment, and snake venom interplay in this problem. From the very beginning, we focused on developing laboratory facilities for snake venom research at Rajarata University, And I received a 2-month training at the Clinical Pharmacology and Toxicology Laboratory of the University of Newcastle, Australia, with the support and guidance of renowned toxicologist Professor Jeffrey Bister. We started in vitro and in vivo assays of venom characterization and antivenom efficacy, and developed Sri Lanka's only venom pharmacology laboratory at Rajarata. An organ bath system was also added. Parallelly, we developed an animal house with facilities for in vivo studies based on rodents and rabbits. The development of our rabbit polyclonal antibody facility, and based on that, the development of venom detection ELISAs for all venomous snakes in Sri Lanka helped us to improve our clinical studies. Now in 2012, with the commencement of the professorial unit, with the generous help of our colleagues in the Department of Medicine, and Professor Sisira Siribadana, Dr. Senaka Pilipiti, and I started a prospective cohort of snake bites in Anuradhapura Teaching Hospital. This cohort is still ongoing and has recruited over 6,600 snakebite patients so far, and is the largest snakebite cohort in the world right now. From the beginning, we accurately authenticated the snake species in all snake cases by venom detection ELISA and morphology. For clinical research assistants work around the clock from the very beginning to recruit patients, conducting clinical assessment, collecting blood samples, and entering data into our dedicated computer database system for cohort. NHMRC Australia and South Asian Clinical Toxicology Research Collaboration provides the infrastructure support for this massive work. Now, in my very early days at Rajarata, I conducted rodent lethality experiments and lethality prevention studies with snake venoms. While conducting these studies, I observed that mice develop envenoming features not seen in envenomed humans. For example, some of the mice injected with hump-nose viper venom would die very rapidly with neurotoxicity with no evidence of internal bleeding, while such has not been observed in humans. These observations made me wonder whether these rodents develop envenoming effects that are different to humans. The lethality prevention tests ensure or assume that rodents and humans have similar physiological responses against snake venom. Rodents are natural prey species of snakes, and the predator-prey relationship drives the venom evolution. So I started thinking, what if the rodents die in these lethality tests due to toxins that are clinically not relevant to humans? What if we are using the wrong animal model in these antivenom efficacy tests? So I think you all know that mongoose and cobra are enemies. Actually, the mongoose is a natural predator of snakes. During the encounters, the mongoose might get a couple of bites by the cobra. However, at the end, despite that, the mongoose kills the cobra and eats it. So how could mongoose survive the cobra bites? The main reason is that the acetylcholine binding sites of the nicotinic acetylcholine receptors of mongoose has a couple of amino acid changes that would prevent cobra toxins to bind with the receptor. So that this inspired me to think while I was doing my PhD. So we conducted experiments in Monash University and Queensland and studied how snake neurotoxins bind with human and rat nicotinic acetylcholine receptors. We found that human nicotinic acetylcholine receptor is several magnitudes resistant to some postsynaptic neurotoxins of snakes compared to rat receptor. We found that the toxin binding site of human receptor has 2 amino acid residues different to rats. Once we mutated the human receptor by replacing the 2 residues with those similar to rats, the human receptor started to behave like a rat receptor. So the human receptor suddenly became susceptible for cobra neurotoxins. So we showed that in lethality experiments, rodents are dying due to toxins that are not clinically relevant to humans. This means that rodent lethality prevention tests that the WHO recommends actually test how good the antivenoms are to treat rodents, but not humans. This was published in Cellular and Molecular Life Sciences. So we started advocating against rodent lethality models and using clinically focused in vitro tests of antivenom efficacy in testing antivenom for human use. Hopefully, the WHO guidelines will be changed in future. Accordingly, we use clinically focused in vitro studies to understand the efficacy of Indian polyvalent antivenom against Sri Lankan snake venoms. We used in vitro venom antivenom binding studies to test whether antivenom molecules could bind with toxin antigens. We used in vitro procoagulant tests to study whether antivenom can prevent procoagulant activity of the snake venoms in human plasma. We also used in vitro chicken biventer neuromuscular preparations to study how the antivenoms prevent pre- and post-synaptic neurotoxicity induced by snake venoms. So using clinically focused in vitro tests, we found that 2 brands of Indian polyvalent antivenom can bind with the venom antigens of Sri Lankan Russell's viper, saw-scale viper, common krait, and common cobra venoms. The 2 brands had differences in their binding capacity. However, both were able to bind with the 4 venoms. Next, we tested whether Indian antivenom is efficacious for coagulopathy caused by Russell's viper and saw-scale viper venom. Using procoagulant assays, we showed that the Indian antivenom can neutralize the procoagulant activity of Russell's viper and saw-scale viper venoms. So this study indicated that the Indian antivenoms have antibodies capable of neutralizing procoagulant toxins of Sri Lankan Russell's viper and saw-scale viper venoms and would be able to prevent venom-induced consumption coagulopathy in bite patients. This was published in scientific reports. Then one of my undergraduate research student groups from Rajarata showed that the procoagulant activity of Merum's humpnose viper and green pit viper venoms are not neutralized by Indian antivenoms. President, Council, and the distinguished guests, coagulopathy caused by Russell's viper is the commonest and most important systemic effect of snake envenoming in Sri Lanka. Indian polyvalent antivenom has been used in Sri Lanka for over 4 decades. And I'm sure all physicians in this audience have used Indian polyvalent antivenom for coagulopathy caused by Russell's vipers. However, as I pointed out earlier, no controlled clinical trials or case control studies are available to support the clinical effectiveness of Indian antivenoms against coagulopathy caused by Russell's viper envenoming. The main reason is that the Indian antivenom has become the standard of care. Hence, having a patient group untreated for comparison is now impossible. However, in Anuradhapura snakebite cohort, while doing venom detection ELISAs of a group of patients, we retrospectively found the presence of Russell's viper venom in 5 patients who did not receive antivenom. Now, these patients have not received antivenom because the whole blood clotting test found it to be negative. So we measured INA and fibrinogen in the preserved blood samples of these patients and found that they all had mild coagulopathy. And we compared the recovery of coagulopathy of these 5 patients with 39 confirmed Russell's viper patients who received antivenom. As you see in the 2 graphs here, the antivenom group, which is indicated in red color, had more severe coagulopathy compared to the no antivenom group indicated in blue, as reflected in high INA and low fibrinogen. However, despite having more severe coagulopathy, the INA and fibrinogen of most patients of the antivenom group returned to normality by 48 hours, while coagulopathy continued to occur in the untreated group. This study has many limitations, especially the very small number of untreated group. However, this is the first ever clinical evidence that Indian antivenom is clinically effective in accelerating the recovery from coagulopathy caused by Russell's viper bites in Sri Lanka. As revealed from the systematic reviews, this is the second such evidence of antivenom for any snakebite coagulopathy worldwide. This was published in Frontiers in Medicine. So how do we explain this effectiveness? The presence of procoagulant toxins in circulation continuously consumes clotting factors. Obviously, antivenom cannot increase the clotting factors of our body, and the liver is the organ that produces clotting factors. However, antivenom molecules bind and trap the procoagulant toxins in the circulation, facilitating elimination and thereby preventing further consumption of clotting factors. This means that over the next 48 to 72 hours, the liver can slowly replenish the consumed clotting factors. Again, in Sri Lanka, Indian krait causes life-threatening neuromuscular paralysis more than any other snake. This is because of the high potent presynaptic neurotoxins in krait venoms. So we investigated whether Indian polyvalent antivenom and other regional antivenoms can neutralize the neurotoxic effect of Indian krait venom. We found that Indian polyvalent antivenom has sufficient antibodies to fully neutralize the presynaptic as well as postsynaptic effects of Indian crate venom from Sri Lanka. In addition, other regional antivenoms such as Thai neuropolyvalent and Australian polyvalent antivenoms were able to cross-neutralize the neurotoxicity by Indian crate venom from Sri Lanka. This suggested that there are antigenic similarities in the neurotoxins of these snakes, and for the first time, we showed the potential for developing universal antivenoms. But does this efficacy translate to clinical effectiveness in actual patients? Clinical observations are grossly insufficient to answer in that question. We need to serially monitor blood venom levels of patients to see whether antivenom effectively neutralizes venom antigens. We also need sensitive neurophysiological tests such as single fiber electromyography to quantify neuromuscular dysfunction. For this, a senior neurophysiologist from Southampton, Professor Mike Sedgwick, kindly came down to Anuradhapura a couple of times and trained me to conduct single fiber electromyography. So we studied 33 Indian crate bite patients using single fiber electromyography and venom detection ELISA. We had 17 patients who developed respiratory paralysis. They had only mild paralysis when they were admitted to the hospital, and they received antivenom without any delay. And the venom detection ELISA showed that the venom levels dropped immediately below the detectable levels after the antivenom, indicating a good efficacy. However, despite that, during the next couple of hours, all of them developed respiratory paralysis, suggesting that antivenom is ineffective in reversing the paralysis in these patients. So Indian antivenom is efficacious, but ineffective. We published this study in PLOS Neglected Tropical Diseases. So how do you explain this? Our single fiber EMG studies showed very high jitter and neurotransmission blocks even when the patients were having mild paralysis. And they later went on to develop life-threatening paralysis. This means that by the time the patients receive antivenom, the neurotoxins have already reached the neuromuscular junctions and started irreversible structural damage at the motor nerve terminals. Although antivenom molecules quickly neutralize the toxins in the circulation, they are unlikely to have a role at the neuromuscular junction. This shows that the antivenom has a limitation in treating paralysis in snake bites. However, antivenom is still very useful because it traps toxins within the circulation, preventing them from reaching neuromuscular junctions and inducing further damage. Now, although Russell's viper occurs in most parts of South Asia and Southeast Asia and is the most medically important snake throughout its range, neuromuscular paralysis, which is non-life-threatening, is only observed in Sri Lanka and South India. We investigated neuromuscular dysfunction in 245 Russell's viper bite patients using single fiber EMG. Similar to Indian crate study, the Indian polyvalent antivenom was efficacious but not effective in reversing neuromuscular paralysis. There are 52 patients who did not have clinically detectable neurotoxicity when they received antivenom for coagulopathy. However, within the next 8 hours, 2/3 of them developed neurotoxicity, indicating presynaptic neurotoxic damage. We published this study in Clinical Toxicology. Later, we were able to isolate, purify, and pharmacologically characterize protein sequence and scientifically name the unique presynaptic neurotoxin in Sri Lankan and South Indian Russell's viper venoms. Now, Russell's vipers are known to cause rhabdomyolysis in Sri Lanka and South India. We studied the myotoxicity of 245 patients envenomed by Russell's viper bites based on the serum creatine phosphokinase levels. We found that the myotoxicity caused by Russell's viper to be mild due to synergistic action of 2 weak myotoxins. We found that the Indian antivenom is ineffective in preventing myotoxicity of these patients. Now, what about the postsynaptic neurotoxicity? Indian cobra is a classic example. One of my PhD students from Monash investigated how the Indian antivenom neutralizes postsynaptic neurotoxicity caused by Indian cobra venom from Sri Lanka. He demonstrated that Indian antivenom can neutralize and partially reverse the neurotoxicity. Similarly, one of my MPhil students from Rajarata showed that the local myotoxicity caused by cobra venom also could be neutralized by Indian antivenom, but the reversibility cannot be achieved unless antivenom is given almost immediately. Now, in real life, Patients receive antivenom a couple of hours after the snake bite. So what is the time window for antivenoms to neutralize presynaptic neurotoxicity and myotoxicity, the toxic effects refractory to antivenom? Two of my MPhil students from our lab further investigated experimentally the time window for antivenom in neutralizing presynaptic neurotoxicity and myotoxicity using chick biventer nerve muscle preparations. They showed that both presynaptic neurotoxicity and myotoxicity, the window of opportunity for antivenoms to fully prevent the injury is very, very narrow, even when antivenoms directly applied on tissues. This means antivenom must be given without any delay. So our studies on coagulopathy, neurotoxicity, and myotoxicity suggested that if there's any effectiveness to be expected, Indian antivenom should be given as early as possible. However, is this possible at all in our setting? Indian antivenom frequently causes life-threatening acute adverse reactions, so it is not a free choice for physicians. Therefore, they want to be absolutely sure that a patient is systemically envenomed before starting antivenom. When we analyzed Anuradhapura snakebite cohort data, we found that the median time gap from snake bite to the first hospital admission is just 30 minutes for snake bite envenomed patients and 40 minutes for all snake bite patients. By 2 hours, 80% of the patients are admitted to the hospitals. Surprisingly, the median time gap from the bite to antivenom was 4 hours. The patients directly admitted to the study center, the median waiting time from the admission to the antivenom was 2 hours. This delay is the time that we take to diagnose envenoming and has become a major barrier to the effectiveness of the antivenom. In the developing world, the most common test used to diagnose snakebite coagulopathy bedside is a 20-minute whole blood clotting test. One of my PhD students, Dr. Supun Vedasinghe, investigated the utility of different bedside clotting tests for her PhD. The most widely used test, whole blood clotting time 20, the only, had sensitivity of 36% when we defined the coagulopathy by INR being more than 1.5. However, when the coagulopathy was defined as INR more than 3, the sensitivity improved to 63%, indicating that the test detects severe coagulopathy better. Also, the performance of the test was better for those patients presenting late. So what this essentially means is that if the coagulopathy is not severe enough to be detected by the whole blood clotting test, in our patients on admission, the physicians are forced to wait till the patient's coagulopathy becomes worse enough for the whole blood clotting test to detect. We published this in Clinical Toxicology. However, INR is available in many tertiary care centers in Sri Lanka. If available, INR should be used as much as possible to diagnose and monitor coagulopathy. We suggested this by writing a lead article to CMJ last year. President, Council, and the distinguished guests. Over the past 15 years, our work has effectively combined clinically focused laboratory experimentation and clinical studies supported by improved observation tools to comprehensively understand the efficacy, effectiveness, and limitations of Indian polyvalent antivenom. As opposed to long-held beliefs, Indian polyvalent antivenoms are largely efficacious for clinically important envenoming effects of Russell's viper, saw-scale viper, common cobra, and Indian crate venoms from Sri Lanka. The clinical effectiveness of the Indian polyvalent antivenom could largely be dependent on the early diagnosis of envenoming and its administration without a delay. However, significant challenges such as frequent severe acute adverse reactions to Indian polyvalent antivenom and poor detection test for envenoming are the burning issues that need prompt attention. There are several individuals who have helped shape my research journey so far. I was lucky enough to associate with them and learn from them. Professor Jeffrey Bister, Professor Wayne Hodgson, Mr. Dharmasri Kandambi, Dr. Rohan Pettiagoda, Professor DJ Velgama, Professor Sisira Siribadana, Professor Mike Segwick, Professor Indika Gavaramana, and Professor Sam Kulratna, and also my dear friend Kalna Madhuge. I am really indebted to them for their support for my research path throughout. And also I am very much grateful to my Rajarata colleagues who helped me in many ways, the university and the faculty administration over the last 15 years, members of my department, and also especially the colleagues from the Department of Medicine unconditionally helped me in conducting clinical studies. I thank all the medical and nursing staff of the Teaching Hospital Anuradhapura, with special thanks to consultant physicians and emergency physicians. I must appreciate the help I received from the SACTRAC throughout. Mr. Umesh Chaturanga, our center manager, helped me with all my clinical studies with utmost care. Also, my clinical research assistants over the last 12 years, I am so much thankful to them. And also my colleagues who are from Newcastle, Monash and Queensland for their generous help. And also without the support of the NHMRC Australia and RUSL grant support, this work would not have been carried out. Also, my PhD and MPhil students, Supun, Tommy, Asela, Jitmi, Umesha, Takshila, and Prabhat, and also Suja, I am really thankful for your contributions. Finally, I thank my beloved mother and my loving wife Subodha and my son Kemita for their sacrifices that enabled me to chase my dreams. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Chiranti Lenage, Honorary Joint Secretary, Ceylon College of Physicians, will now deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Niraharan. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's never an enviable task to stand between a room full of hungry people and delicious meal. So I will try my level best to keep this brief. However, brevity may be quite challenging because there are many that I must thank. First and foremost, we are sincerely grateful to the Royal College of Physicians and the Royal College of Physicians of Edinburgh for their close collaboration in identifying and securing outstanding resource persons for us when we were formulating the program. We are deeply honored to have Professor Andrew Elder, President of the Royal College of Physicians of Edinburgh, and Dr. Mumtaz Patel, acting as President, Royal College of Physicians, with us tonight. We are very fortunate to have had your support throughout the years, and we look forward to strengthening these ties, and we anticipate even greater things in the future. We thank the Pakistan Society of Internal Medicine and Professor Javed Akram, its president, for being with us tonight, and we look forward to future collaborations with you. I would also like to thank the Ministry of Health Sri Lanka, the Sri Lanka Medical and Dental Association UK, the Centre for Research Development and Innovation of the Faculty of Medicine, Colombo, and the Postgraduate Institute of Medicine, University of Colombo, who partnered with us in organizing a number of pre- and post-conference events. And ladies and gentlemen, as it was mentioned before, we have just completed 6 pre-conference workshops, and over the coming few days, there'll be 12 symposia, 5 plenaries, 4 breakfast capsules, 2 interactive discussions, and a post-conference workshop. In addition to that, we have 8 free paper sessions. And none of this would have been ever possible without our faculty, both overseas and local, and all the chairpersons, the reviewers of abstracts, and all other awards, and the judges. Thank you for accepting our invitation, rendering us your unstinted support, and joining us in person, despite the many challenges faced, particularly with the change in the schedule due to the upcoming presidential election. And we extend our thanks to, our sincere thanks to Professor Anjana Silva, the orator of the Ceylon College of Physicians Oration 2024. And congratulations on your outstanding work, and we wish you all the very best in your future academic pursuits. Ladies and gentlemen, as the Joint Secretary of the Ceylon College of Physicians, it is my duty to thank those who have supported the college financially and made this event possible. Our principal sponsor, George Stewart Private Limited, the diamond sponsors, Celoka Health Private Limited, Cipla Breathe Sri Lanka Private Limited, Pfizer Limited, Principal Healthcare UK, Renata Limited, and Searle Company, the platinum sponsors, Kelbe International PTE Limited, Sanofi Healthcare, and Servial International, the gold sponsors, the silver sponsors, and the bronze sponsors, and those who have given in-kind sponsorships. Without your support, this event would not have been possible. The Ceylon College of Physicians is grateful for your contributions, and we look forward to your continued support. We extend our sincere thanks to our service providers, Ms. Nimalka Marahala and the event management team at HNA Consulting and Events, the Ananda Press, Mr. Amal Ranawakar, our photographer at Anira, and Mr. Nalin at Impress Events, our trusted AV team. Website and IT support given by Mr. Buddhika Bevikramam, and the travel partner, Mr. Ranga Vijayaratne of Classic Lanka Travels, and of course, Mr. Dimuthu and the team at Shangri-La Hotel, who just showed us that nothing is impossible because they cleared this room within just a couple of hours for us to have this event without much of a delay. Thank you. And a special thanks to the CCP office staff, Rohana, Hemamali, Kumara, Sarath, and Doctors Pramudi and Avishka, as well as Ms. Manal, without whom we would have been very lost. And ladies and gentlemen, there is a group of dynamic young doctors who have generously come forward and volunteered to do all the hard work. Hajanti, Krishan, Arutni, Pumika, Navindi, Minidu, Sohani, Minoli, and Lambodaran, and of course, our compeer of the night, Niraharan. Thank you so much for coming forward when we really needed you. And as our president mentioned earlier in his speech, the initial brush strokes on this blank canvas were over countless cups of coffee and cake with a handful of like-minded people all the way back probably in January last year. Professor Chandani Vanigatunga, aka God, who told us off when we were being absurd, Dr. Dumita Gomindapala and Dr. Tushara Matthias, who brought in the experience and wisdom of being in the council for a number of years, joined by dear Chanaka. Along the way, whilst gaining a few inches, well, more than a few inches around the waist, we have been blessed to gain the support of many more. Our immediate past president, Dr. Dumindu Munidasa, who has been there consistently, never hesitant, with no reservations, always there to offer guidance and support. Thank you, sir. And of course, many more, like Professor Kamani Vanigasurya, Professor Prasad Katulanda, Professor Diniti Fernando. There are so many who are too numerous for us to mention by name individually. All of you have been instrumental in this journey. For all those who engaged in some way, either by carrying the burden of organizing large events or by simply giving us a call or sending a text when we have not done something right to correct it, thank you. All of you have been an integral part in completing this painting on the blank canvas that we started off with. And finally, to our delegates, thank you for joining us in person or virtually. We hope you gain the best out of this experience, whether you're here for the knowledge or the fellowship. We look forward to meeting you and interacting with you over the coming couple of days. To all our invitees and well-wishers, thank you for being with us tonight as we ceremoniously mark the beginning of the 57th anniversary annual academic sessions. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, as we have now come to the end of formalities, may I now kindly invite the distinguished guests at the head table to be seated with the audience so that we can enjoy the live performance by Channa Upali Dance Group. The Channa Upali dance performance would be based on capturing and reliving a special moment for you, an adventurous but rebellious Aryan prince's discovery and conquest of Sri Lanka nearly 2,500 years ago. Not only a serendipitous tropical island paradise, a veritable Pearl Upon the Brow of India. The pearl introduces conquering of Prince Vijaya and the relationship of the tribal queen Kuveni, as Sri Lanka stands on 5 powerful pillars: Sangha, spiritual; Veda, meaning Ayurveda; Guru, meaning education; Govi, meaning agriculture; and Kamkaru, meaning industrial. The pearl then introduces all of these 5 powerful strengths and in turn introduces the culture, art, and the grace and the charm of Kandyan dance. Let us now enjoy the show. Thank you.
Throughout the ages, travelers from all corners of the world have journeyed to a mystical and magnificent island nestled in the heart of the Indian Ocean. All through history, this island nation has been referred to by many a name, such as Taprobane, Serendib, the granary of the East, and still to this day, the pearl of the Indian Ocean. Commencing their day by paying homage to the sun, the people of the island work the fertile soil that nourishes an entire nation. Ancient kings regarded the soil as a giver, a life, and fed it through intricate man-made waterways and great lakes. people of the island nation sought medicine and healing from Mother Nature. Healing rituals were performed to cleanse the body and mind of impurities through the recital of spiritual chants called slokas. The study of astrology was central to the ancient system of education. Men of wisdom sought counsel from the stars and read the future looking at planetary positions. Time, space, and energy were harnessed in the art of movement and traditional drumming, which gave rise to the traditional dances of Sri Lanka.
That was a lovely performance by Channa Upali Dance Group. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, as we have come to the end of formalities, may I now kindly invite, This brings us to the end of the proceedings of the inauguration ceremony of the 57th anniversary annual academic sessions of the Ceylon College of Physicians. Please join us for reception and fellowship afterwards. I would like to remind our guests to collect their parking pass from the hotel staff for the complimentary parking. And right now, I kindly request you to rise for the ceremonial procession to leave the hall.